What's up, guys? Matt Brown from the LSR Podcast. Thanks for joining me and Dustin and Adam right here on the channel each and every week. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments if there's anything you'd like us to tackle in a future episode. But without further ado, it was not the best week for the market leader.
FanDuel has some stories that it would prefer not to have in the press this week. The one that was making the rounds on social media the most in the last 24 hours was a great number of people who were not able to access their accounts and kind of got frozen out because FanDuel got caught with some tech problems in a platform migration issue, which I had to have just a little bit of a laugh about, because everything we've heard from FanDuel when it comes to their difference versus DraftKings has been about tech stack and has been about having everything in-house. And we've talked so much on the podcast about DraftKings and the potential problems ahead, or at least the potential issues ahead with its platform migration to SB Tech, which we know probably won't be completed until well into 2021. Some account management problems for FanDuel and some very unhappy people over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, this was pretty prevalent there. If you follow, you really didn't even have to follow kind of sports betting Twitter. There was just a lot of casual people I saw who were really coming out about being locked out of their FanDuel accounts, and lots of very let's just call them unkind words heading towards FanDuel's way on the Twitter. Everyone has a way with words on Twitter. Obviously, they're there to be sweet. I can't believe they were lobbing insults, because that's not what Twitter is for. There's no way that's what Twitter is for there. But we also talked to Dustin about how FanDuel, they had that palp, and what about some of the money that they're going to have to pay out?
Yeah, so the story we've been talking about for a little bit here, FanDuel will actually have to pay out the error it made on these soccer matches they had a bad line on, and some people got some money down. Many people had their money locked up, and DG actually came out, the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement, and came out and said that in this case that FanDuel would have to pay these out. We don't know the exact amount, but as ESPN was reporting, could be up to almost six figures in bets that they had to pay out in terms of these betting on MLS and some other soccer matches. So, I think it's a good result. DG, even in its statement, says something like this reinforces the integrity of sports wagering in New Jersey and confidence in the industry by the public. And that's kind of where we come down on this, like whether it's right or wrong to make them pay. Like we're in a precarious position always with sports betting, and to get it right and to make sure the public has trust in the sports books. I think that's number one, and that's what happened here.
Yeah, Adam, this was something we talked about, and I think that my opinion's pretty well known on this, that I think there has to be some sort of penalty, some sort of something involved that makes these sports books want to be better, right? I mean, to make them want to improve, to make sure that they are doing everything they can do to make sure that the operations are running smoothly. And whenever there is able to fall back on the, hey, we made a mistake, it is what it is type situation, then I think it really does put this kind of dark cloud over what we're trying to say is, by and large, the way that people should be betting, the way that people should be going here. So I am glad to see that there is at least, quote unquote, a penalty here for this type of act.
There is. Indiana also is reserving the right to give some sanctions or slaps on the wrist or whatever it turns out to be for similar situations related to the soccer bets that happened there. They were allowed to avoid those bets in Indiana, but the New Jersey regulators made clear that this is not something that's acceptable. The penalty at the very least is that they have to pay out these bets. Now, I understand the argument that is on the other side of this, right? That it's not all innocent people who are taking advantage of these errors, right? There are people who are seeking out these errors and looking for opportunities to get in when there's a palp. But at the same time, there's always someone looking for a bad line. There's always someone looking to get an edge. And that needs to be the case on both sides. Not that someone needs to be looking to exploit both sides, but both sides need to be equally as vigilant. So if the sort of, incremental cost right now in the middle is that those who are looking to exploit the book get a little bit of an advantage when it comes to how we're dealing with regulators. I think that is something that you just have to kind of accept for where we are in the U.S. legal market right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at kind of how this goes, it wasn't one of those deals where it was out of the realm of possibility that it could have happened. But even just yesterday over at DraftKings, I saw someone posted a deal where it obviously the bet was supposed to be James Harden points and rebounds, but it only came out James Harden rebounds, and so it was like minus 50, whatever. The line was set like 51.5 or something like that, or whatever it was, like 44.5 or, something kind of crazy like that. So it just came out as just rebounds. And so obviously that is just an egregious error that, James Harden is never going to get 40 rebounds in a game. Like no one is ever getting 50 rebounds in a game. And so, this type of stuff does happen. And I think something as egregious as that, I mean, you can just kind of point and say, all right, guys, come on. Like this is kind of is what it is. But when there's little things where the average bettor, and again, I know that it was probably advantage bettors that were taking advantage of this soccer thing who know that when a line is set at crazy amount of goals in a soccer game, that's never going to be a situation and stuff like that. But, I honestly believe that there is kind of a case-by-case basis for stuff like this where it says Harden rebounds 50. You kind of go, all right, we're null and void these bets. Like this, there's no way. I mean, like this is obviously a very egregious and obvious error here, but I don't think that's always the case, Dustin. So, I mean, maybe this is something we'll just be dealing with kind of in perpetuity here because it probably will come down to how egregious is the error. And unfortunately for these sports books is whether they pay them out or not in good faith might have to just come down to how much money was wagered on them.
Yeah, look, this already happens in the UK and elsewhere, right? It doesn't go away, but and again, we haven't had a whole lot of these. I think it says something that we're only looking at, really these two big ones from FanDuel, and there have been a few others where things that you shouldn't even be able to bet on were bet on and things like that. The number of mistakes has been relatively small, but they're never going to go away. But you just always should be working toward a world where we're not having lots of these errors. And again, we don't want to have to write about this either, but it's the world we live in, and we want there should be accountability. And when they make mistakes, that should be avoidable. Again, we go back to this was one of the tickets written was over the counter, and a supervisor was involved. So those are the kinds that we should be avoiding in the U.S. market these days.
Absolutely. And look, again, I'm glad there was at least some sort of little penalty here. It will probably serve as a warning shot here even further to a lot of these books to make sure that they're on top of their stuff. Guys, as a reminder, the full version of this podcast can be found over at LegalSportsReport.com, as can the written breakdown of every topic we talk about on the show each and every week. Thanks for watching.